Hey, I'm Stephanie, and it's time to declutter some cream and liquid cheek products. So far, we've done powders, concealers, and foundations, correctors, all things that are very utilitarian. So I feel like those declutters went somewhat smoothly. I'll link them below in case you missed them. But now we're starting to get into the realm of color cosmetics, which really push my buttons. You might have noticed that I took a little break after decluttering my lipsticks just because my makeup hoarding brain needed to catch its breath before diving into decluttering more of my favorite categories. But I think I have found a bit of a rhythm now, so I'm ready for the hard stuff. And I thought cream and liquid cheek products would be a great category to start because that is one which I am particularly interested in shrinking down. Because cream and liquid cosmetics do tend to expire a whole lot faster than powder cosmetics. And considering the fact that I haven't purchased anything new in this category since before my no-buy year, which is over 2 years ago at this point, I want to make sure I can get use out of my remaining favorites before they expire, which means I definitely need to do some streamlining. Not only will I be looking at things like color and formula to determine my favorites and also choose some potential dupes to rehome, but I will also be looking at aspects like packaging, because I've discovered that sometimes a product can be great, but its packaging can be so horrible that it just constantly gets in my way. So I'm going to be seeing if I can maybe make some adjustments so that I can enjoy the product without that happening. Before we switch to the overhead camera to do some serious decluttering, I just wanted to briefly mention that I won't be decluttering any of my cream contours today because I've decided I want to do a dedicated cream contour comparison video. Just for inventory purposes, I do own 3 cream contours, all of which I purchased during Contourgate at the end of last year. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, I'll link that video as well. But basically, I am just going to put these into this little compartment here with a bunch of other cream contours that I am either borrowing or have been decluttered to me so I can do that comparison video. And for today, we'll just pretend that these 3 don't exist. Now, let's switch to the overhead camera and see how well I do with the rest of my cream cheek products. Here are all of my cream and liquid cheek products, and I thought maybe we should start with the roly-poly ones just because they're going to be a little bit more difficult to keep in place on this table. So let's reorganize a bit. Okay, first, let's talk about this Makeup by Mario blush. This is a beautiful formula and a beautiful color, but look what happens when I try to open it. I always get the brush first. I hate this brush because every time I go to open the blush, this happens, and instead of getting the blush product, I get the brush, which I never use because I can't clean it because it's directly attached to the cosmetic. So I have to kind of fiddle with it to get it open, and I despise that. But I really enjoy what's inside. And so I need to think of a way to repot this so that I can get the use out of it that I want to, because it's a beautiful product that I simply don't use enough because of its format. So we're going to keep that in mind as we move through the rest of this declutter. I want to keep it, but I need to find a solution, and maybe we can do that today. When it comes to this Tom Ford duo, it's a little bit frustrating because I can never remember which side is which. There is a highlighter here, which works for me as a very dewy blush in the winter and as a nice highlighter in the summer. And then on this side, we have what looks to be a very intense blush, but this coral color blends out really easily and is not nearly as threatening as it looks in the bullet here. And I really enjoy using this in the summer because it looks great with a tan. But I'm also wondering if I can repot this. Although it is travel friendly and I don't have the same issue that I do with this one, I do always seem to open the wrong side. And so I'm wondering if I can find a more efficient way to store this product so that I can get more use out of it. This idea of repotting these 2 products has brought this to mind. This is my Makeup Forever blush palette. It was actually a blush and foundation palette, and I didn't enjoy the foundations in here. So what I did was I repotted them. I put them in different containers, I cleaned out the original pans, and I can reuse them. And so I've been gradually filling them up. This is the Patrick Ta cream bronzer. This is actually a MAC highlighter in the shade Hush. This is a Kevyn highlighter in the shade Candlelight. And I still have some empty slots here. And so what I'm thinking is I have 3 cream products here and 3 slots here. So this would probably be a perfect solution. I can just add these to this, and then I'll have a very easy to travel with product that's also easily accessible for me. But here's something to think about. This blush here and this blush here are very similar. So let's swatch them and just do some comparing. I hate opening that thing. So let's take some of this for a nice arm swatch. Let's see, I'll do it right there. And maybe blot it out a little bit so we can see more of what the color would look like on the cheek. So that's the Makeup by Mario. And let's see what shade this is. This is the shade Pale Petal. And this, I don't know what color it is. I guess I will put it on the screen since I don't have my magnet to get it out of the palette easily right now. But this pink color looks like this. And we'll also blot that one out so we can see what that looks like. And first of all, I think you can see that this one shears out really nicely. That's what I like so much about these Makeup Forever blushes, is that they kind of leave this watercolor sheerness on the skin, and it's absolutely gorgeous. This one here, but the Makeup by Mario, is a little bit more present, but it also blends out beautifully. So when it comes to the way the product sits on the skin, I feel like even though they're different, they're not different enough for that finish to make a difference. But when I'm looking at this in daylight, which is now, I find that the Makeup by Mario is just a little bit peachier in real life, and this Makeup Forever one is a little bit more of a blue-based pink. And when that's the case, I feel like this color suits me better. But blue-based pinks look really gorgeous on my mother. So you know what I think I'm gonna do is, let's see if I can find it. I have this empty compact, and I think what I'll do is I will repot this blush into this compact and give that to her, and then I can put the Makeup by Mario blush in here, and that way I'll still have a very similar pink in that spot, but it'll be one that suits me better. And then my mom gets to try this formula because I think it'll look lovely on her. I think it's a very flattering formula, especially on maturing skin, and so I think this would be really fun for her to try. And you know, since we're here already and looking at repotting this blush, why don't we take a look at these two, because they might be similar to the Tom Ford blush color here. And look, I even got the right side. That almost never happens. This is so exciting. Okay, so we have this coral color. Let me get a swatch of this on my arm so we can compare. And it looks really bright and threatening to someone like me who usually likes a very sheer color, but it kind of is, it's very melty. I don't know if you can tell the texture of that. It gets very melty. It's really nice. It almost becomes like a liquid blush when I'm putting it on. So let's see. Rub that in, and you can shear it out. Like, I would never use this much on my face. That would be insane. But here we get a nice color swatch here, and maybe we should do one next to it of the more sheer version. That's more of what it'll actually look like on the skin. That's probably what I should have done in the beginning. We'll build it up a little bit, but that's the deepest and darkest I would ever use it on my actual face. And let's see, make sure this is clean. I think this color would probably be the closest, so let's try that here. And this is what this color looks like, and this is more orange than this. This is a little bit pinkier, so I'm wondering if maybe this one, and I guess we'll swatch this here. So the Tom Ford is here and the Makeup Forever is here, and this is more corally pink. So we have, I think these two are closer. What do we do now? Okay, you know what I think I'm gonna do? This is the Tom Ford. This is the Makeup Forever kind of more reddish color, and this is the Makeup Forever more coral color. And when I am thinking about doing my makeup and reaching for a color like this would give me a fresher look. This would give me more of like a sunburnt look, and this would also give me more of a sunburnt look. And let's see, the truth of the matter is, if I'm gonna go for a sunburnt look, this is probably gonna be more the direction I would go in. So I think this is the one I will keep. So I will depot this and give this to someone who would enjoy the color, and then I will use this pan for the Tom Ford Coral Blush. And then I can put the highlighter over here, and I'll have 3 highlighters all in a row. That makes my brain happy. You know what? The swatches were beginning to get a little sloppy. They took up my whole entire arm, and we might want to swatch some more stuff. So I am going to really quickly do some more organized swatches so we can really compare everything.
Paint me a rainbow all across the sky. I don't want to dream in black and white. Life can be so shadowy, so paint me a rainbow by and by.
Now we have some more organized swatches. So here we have the Makeup by Mario. Then we have this shade from Makeup Forever, this shade from Makeup Forever, and this shade from Makeup Forever. And then I also thought I would swatch this shade because it looked like it might be somewhat similar to the Tom Ford, which is here, and I was right. All 3 of these shades are kind of similar to the Tom Ford, whereas this one here, which is the kind of peachy color here, is the most different. And so I think these 2 are the most similar, because this one's a little bit more orangey. This one is a little bit more berry leaning. It doesn't look like that in the pan, but that is how it swatches out. In this daylight situation, it looks a little bit, it leans a tiny bit berry. And so I think this one and this one are gonna go. I'm gonna give those away, repot them, and then I will insert these 2 into there, and that will be very good. The question is, are there any other blushes that could maybe replace one of these? Not because I don't like this formula, but just because I'm looking at this color right here, and it is gorgeous. I'll swatch it for you, but this is just not a color I wear often. In fact, it's been decluttered to me in other formulas from other brands several times, and every single time I take it because it looks so intriguing, and then I wear it a couple times, then I end up decluttering it. And I think that's what's going to happen with this one, because this is just, I mean, it blends out to a very sheer color. So it's not that I can't wear this, but I just find I never reach for kind of a purple based berry like this. But I have this one that was decluttered to me, and this is kind of like the muted version of this. And me being the beige babe that I am, I feel like this is my version of this color. So let's take a look at that one. What I like about this formula is there's something luminous to it. It's luminous and powdery at the same time. It's a really strange formula. I don't think they even make it anymore. But I do imagine I could use it up because I don't know if you can tell, but I have hit a little bit of pan in there. So I think I could use this up before long, especially because this is something that I would probably wear in the winter. So this is that Estee Lauder cream blush that they don't make anymore. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to exchange this and put it in here. So essentially, these 3 containers are going to be leaving, but they're all going to be put in here. And these 3 blushes will get repotted into little containers that I've saved like this, and they will fly out into the world so that other people can try them. Just for the sake of trying to visualize what I'm keeping and what I'm giving away, I'm going to have this palette represent all of the cream blushes I'm keeping so far, because since all 3 of these are going in here, I feel like that's a pretty accurate representation. So I'm keeping this stuff so far. We'll see if it stays, but I also have these cream blushes. This Bobbi Brown Pot Rouge blush is the most nude colored pink blush that I have left. I used up all of my nude pinky blushes, and so if I want something nude pink, this is it. But it is a little bit bright on me. It's going to be perfect in the summer. I think when I have a tan, this looks nude on me. So I think I'm going to get a lot of use out of it this summer, and I have gotten a lot of use out of it in general. I've hit pan. I had to kind of scrape the sides and bring it out into the middle so that I could keep using it. This is a lovely formula, very hydrating, and I enjoy the color. Even though it's a little bit bright to be nude on me, I do still like it. I guess we'll put this one, I guess we'll start swatching them here. But yeah, I do like this formula, and I do think it's flattering on me. It's just, I kind of miss having a nude blush. I used up my Juice Beauty blush during my No Buy year, and I haven't repurchased a nude cream blush since, just because I'm trying to use up what I have. And this is what I've been reaching for when I want a nude blush. Either that, if you could see how I have my camera jury-rigged, you guys would laugh. I've got a water bottle holding up my camera by a string, literally. So hopefully this will stay put now. This was the best solution I could find so far. I'm still experimenting with how to do overhead shots like this with stuff that I already have, so I don't have to go buy more camera equipment. I was thinking of starting a Patreon or like a YouTube membership just for anybody who wants to join, but I just don't know if many people would do that. Let me know in the comments if you think I should, but for now, I'm just kind of winging it with water bottles and rope. Okay, where were we? We were talking about the Bobbi Brown Pot Rouge in the shade Powder Pink, which is this one. And yes, it is my most nude blush other than this one in the e.l.f. Active Lip and Cheek palette. But this one is a little bit more orangey. Also very pretty, but I feel like it's not quite as nude as this one on me because it's a little bit darker, a little bit more orange based. So there we go. This is the e.l.f. Active Lip and Cheek palette, and this is the Bobbi Brown Pot Rouge. Okay, I am currently looking at all of the cream blush that I own, and I'm seeing that it's a lot. And knowing what I do about cream and liquid products and how they do tend to go off faster than powders, I am beginning to wonder if maybe I should be trying to give something away. I want to look at this and this for a moment, because this seems like it would be very similar to these two, but I don't think I've ever done a direct comparison. So let's do that right now, and we'll put it directly here, so right in between the two of them. And I think we're going to need more of a swatch. You can see how much this one shears out. It's actually great because of that, but when you're trying to swatch and compare, that the formula isn't ideal for that. But here we have these three blushes that look kind of similar, but I don't know. I guess in reality they aren't. This one is also more blue based and not quite as nude. This one ends up looking brighter on my skin than either of these two do. These two look more nude. And what I'm wondering is if I should pull a switcheroo, if I should put this in here and this in here, and then maybe give this palette away, because this is such a cute little palette and it is still good. It's really great to travel with. It's really handy. I think there are several people in my life who would enjoy this. And so I am wondering if I should switch this one and this one. And, ooh, let me know. What do you think I should do? Do you think I should just leave this intact, even though I wouldn't necessarily use this blush? Because this, well, I mean, I would, but I think this would be more something I'd reach for in the summer because it's just too bright for me in the winter. Whereas this blush and this blush, I can make work in the winter. So, gosh, what would you do? Let me know. But this is what I'm considering right now, if I should pull a switcheroo. Although, I do have one more kind of semi-nude blush in this face palette here. This is the Hourglass, what do they call this? The Hourglass Illume Sheer Color Trio. This is gorgeous, but these are also colors I tend to reach for more in the summer just because like this is a warmer bronzer, this is a warmer, brighter kind of pink blush. And so that's the sort of thing I tend to reach for more in the summertime. So we'll put that one here as well. But this blush is actually, yeah, this one's pretty nude. I can make that one work. So the question is, if I have a nude blush here and a nude blush here, I don't need another nude blush. So I can leave this palette intact, I can wash this brush, clean up this palette really nicely, and give it to someone who will enjoy it for the rest of its life, because this thing has been discontinued. So there are several people I know who wanted this and never got their hands on it, and now I can give them a chance to use it. And I think the joy of that will be more valuable to me than holding on to this. And that way, I can reduce the number of things I have. That's it for my cream blushes, but I do have these two cloud paints, the cloud paint in Beam and in Dusk. And I need to see if it's also worth keeping these. So let's do some swatching. Dusk. This is also a nude color, but that's kind of my favorite thing. Let's see, where should we, I guess we'll swatch it here. See, it's just not quite pink, which is why I guess I never think of it, but maybe once I have less blush, I will reach for it more often. It's more of like a nude kind of brown blush, but I actually like that sort of thing. So let's put that in there. These cloud paints, they've been on the market forever, but they're just so nice. Yeah, this is a gorgeous color. Let's take a look at Beam. That is such a pretty color. It's a little bit vivid for me when I see it like that, but once again, when it's blended out into the skin, it kind of calms down. And then it just looks really nice. Oh yeah. Let's see, is it similar to some of these others? Yes. Yes, it is. but it's so pretty. I don't know. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna keep these blushes for now. And what I can do is live with my collection for a while, see how I interact with them now that my collection is getting smaller, and then maybe at the end of the year I'll come back and do a declutter and see if there's anything else I can get rid of. So now let's take a look at bronzers. I honestly don't think I'm going to declutter any of them because all three of these are very different and serve different purposes, but we can swatch them and discuss them, and who knows, maybe I'll surprise myself. So this first one, this is the Patrick Ta Cream Bronzer in the shade She's Sculpted. And this one works best for me as a kind of bronzer. It's too cool to be a bronzer, but it's a little bit too, I don't know, it's just slightly off as a contour. It's a lovely product. I really enjoy it, but it's not really a straight up bronzer for me. So that's what that one looks like. Then we have the Tom Ford. And this is in shade 1. And I really enjoy this formula. It's a little bit dark for me in the winter, but I can make it work. I just have to make sure that I don't use too much. And it's perfect in the summer. I mean, I feel like I can bathe in this in the summer, and I do. This is like one of my favorite things to use. It has been for a long time, and I enjoy it because this is just such a neutral bronzer. It doesn't turn orange on me. It doesn't turn yellow on me. It also doesn't go rosy. It's just pretty much a straight up bronze, and that's kind of hard to find, so I really do enjoy this color. And lastly, we have the bronzer in the Hourglass. This is the lightest bronzer that I own, and this is the only one with a matte finish. But it's a soft matte. It's easy to wear, very, very kind to textured skin, very beautiful. Hourglass, I have to say, with their finishes, does such a good job, and this is gorgeous. I love using this bronzer too. And it's my lightest one. So this is the easiest color for me to wear in the winter. And I feel like all three of these serve different purposes for me. And so there's not a reason to get rid of any of them. So I don't think I will. When it comes to highlighters, there's one that I'm not that crazy about, but it's in a palette. So I don't know what to do. This isn't bad, really, it's not. But I feel like it's a little bit temperamental. Some days it looks absolutely stellar on me, and then some days it just looks kind of ho-hum. And so this particular highlighter in this palette isn't the best, but because it's in a palette, I feel like maybe I should keep it, unless my mother says that she wants it, because I could depot this for her and give that to her if she wants to try it. But, I mean, I'll use it. I have, because whenever I take this traveling, then this is the only highlighter I bring with me. So I feel like it makes sense to keep it. This one from Tom Ford is almost like a clear balm, but it doesn't stay sticky. I don't think it really sets down entirely, but my hair doesn't stick to it if it's a windy day, and that's the important part. And so I feel like this is just a beautiful sheen to the skin without adding any color, and it's gorgeous for that. I really, really like that. I actually hit pan on this highlighter before I did on the bronzer, which kind of shocked me. And then we have this kind of pink-based highlighter from MAC, which is the shade Hush. And then this is the Kevyn Aucoin cream highlighter. I believe it's in the shade Candlelight. And this is a nice golden highlighter, which actually suits my skin tone really nicely. Both of them do. So it depends on the kind of look that I'm doing, which one I'll take. And then the other highlighter I have here is from Tom Ford. And this is going to be going into this palette. And that's going to sit right there probably. So let's do some swatching. I guess we'll go from lightest to darkest, maybe that makes sense. The only problem is, where am I going to fit swatches? Because look at my arms. You know what? I think we just have to clean off an arm to make space. And since there's less to clean on this arm, we'll clean off the bronzers. Now we're ready to swatch some highlighters. I guess we'll start with the lightest one first. I guess that makes the most sense. So we'll start with the Tom Ford, since this is pretty much just clear. And I really enjoy the almost wet look that this one gives, because a wet look highlighter can potentially emphasize texture, but this one just has such a soft finish. And so it's just so easy to wear. And if you just need a little bit of extra something, you just need to look a little bit more hydrated, I feel like this is just such a soft look. Like, you can't see it, but it just leaves that hydrated look on the skin, and it doesn't really stay sticky. You just kind of pat it down. It sets just enough so that it doesn't bother you during the day, and then it just leaves a sheen. You probably can't see that at all, but that's how subtle it is. It's just perfect for someone like me who doesn't want a whole lot of highlight and just wants to look really natural. The next lightest one is probably the Kevyn Aucoin. I don't even know if this is available anymore, so I want to definitely use it up. I only have about, I don't know, maybe 30% of mine left. It was a pretty big pan, and I used most of it and then put the remaining stuff into this pan here. This one is just a really soft look. Again, I definitely have a type, but this one does leave a little bit more color. Like, if I need a little bit more brightening on my cheek, I do find that I can use this. It's very subtle, but it does kind of give me just a little bit of a brightened golden glow. It's a beautiful champagne. Then we have this highlighter from Hourglass, which always confounds me and confuses me, because it's matte and it's glowy at the same time, and that's just weird. And some days it just looks gorgeous, and some days it looks a little dry, and I'm never quite sure if it's the products or my skin that's changing the way it looks. But when it looks beautiful, I'm glad I chose it. As you can see, there's not much to see. The highlighters I enjoy are very natural. And then this last one, this is MAC Hush. And it's nice to have a pink highlighter, especially one that's a warm pink, because I do have a neutral but slightly golden undertone, and so a little bit of warmth in a pink like this really goes a long way. And here we have MAC Hush. This is like such a soft highlight. I feel like it would be perfect for a blushing bride. It's just so gentle. So here we have all of my highlighters. But I forgot to swatch the Tom Ford, and that's because in this time of year, I often think of this as kind of a very, I don't know, nude peachy blush, but it's actually a highlighter, and that is the way I use it in the summer. And we will swatch this one here. And this one is the deepest highlighter that I have. And this has just such a gorgeous sheen. And it's funny because it actually has, I don't know, like mica in it. There's particles in it, and I normally don't like that, but I feel like these, the way they melt into the skin, ends up looking very fairy-like. It's very subtle, very classy, and I just really enjoy this particular highlight in the summer. They all have the same kind of very gentle highlighty finish, but I use them all for different looks. But we can't finish talking about the highlighters without talking about liquid luminizers. So let's pack these babies up and make some room. These are my 2 liquid luminizers, and this is an empty container that I'm using to keep this from rolling off the table. So, the Auric Glow Lust versus the Hollywood Flawless Filter. Both of these are gorgeous. This one is my winter shade. This one is my summer shade. This one is more smoothing. This one gives a gorgeous, gentle, wet glow. Both of them are equally gorgeous, and I'm halfway through both containers, so I feel like I might as well keep going and see if I can use both of them up. Right now, I'm using this one more because I'm still pretty pale, but as the summer goes on, I'll switch to using this. And we might as well swatch these with the highlighters because they are luminizing. We'll start with this one because it can go right next to my summer shade of the Tom Ford. This is the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter for a something superstar youth glow, because she loves those long names. Darlings, Charlotte's development team is now working hard on the bronzing tinted moisturizer. So, what shall we call it? Brainstorm.
What if we just called it Charlotte's Bronzy Skin Tint?
Doesn't really roll off the tongue like our flagship product, Hollywood Flawless Filter for a superstar youth glow.
True. But maybe we've been underestimating the elegance of simplicity.
I suppose, but you see, I have a vendetta against Pauline in graphics. Yes, I'd rather prefer if we could come up with a dramatically long name so that she has to work late trying to find a way to fit it all on a tiny little packaging component. Pauline. And this is the sort of thing I wear underneath foundation. Same here. These are kind of like primers that I use underneath my matte foundations when I want a more natural look. And I don't know if you can tell, but this one kind of warms up my skin right now simply because it's a little bit too dark for me. I have it in the shade 3. But I use these differently than I use my cream highlighters, and that's why I think it makes sense to keep these and the cream highlighters. These tend to be base products for me, and the cream highlighters tend to be toppers for me. And I feel like they kind of serve different purposes in that way. Then we have the Auric Glow Lust, which I have in the shade Selenite, and this is a beautiful winter shade. And I like the packaging of this one so much better. I feel like it's so much more sanitary, and it doesn't roll around. These are both kind of heavy. They're not really travel friendly, but I can depot them if I need to. But this is the shade Selenite from the Auric Glow Lust, and this one is just really smoothing. If I am dealing with texture on my cheeks, this is the formula I want to use. And technically speaking, I could use these as toppers as well, but I don't know if you can tell from the swatches. I feel like the shine of these, the Glow Lust and the Charlotte Tilbury, is a little bit more intense than the highlighters that I have. These highlighters are all kind of a natural finish, and these are more intense. And I like using the more intense underneath a matte base to make it look more natural. In that case, sometimes I won't use any cream highlighter on top. Sometimes I'm going for a very matte look, and then I want to add something like this just to the top of the cheekbone, because if I do that, then I'm only highlighting an area that needs it to kind of create a little bit more dimension to the face. And so I know it sounds kind of nitpicky and very high maintenance, but that's the way I am with makeup. I enjoy having these options. I use all of them, and so I figure if I'm enjoying them and I'm using them, there is no reason to get rid of them. So when it comes to all of my highlighters, let's lay them out here. I am only getting rid of one. And that is this one in the e.l.f. Lip and Cheek palette. And to be honest, this one was tied for this one for my least favorite. Both of them are really nice. It's just that when you have so many gorgeous things to choose from, something has to be your least favorite. And these two tend to be my least favorite. So I think I'm fine saying goodbye to this one. And then everything else is staying. Now let's take a look at the cream bronzers. I'm only keeping 1, 2, 3. And last but not least, let's look at the final tally for the blushes. All right, this is a little bit symbolic since I will be repotting a bunch of these into here, but ultimately this is the number of blushes that I'm keeping, and this is the number of blushes that I am getting rid of. And I feel like this is actually really good, especially because this little thing is going to be so travel friendly, and it's going to have a bunch of different formulas in it, all of which I enjoy. Plus, it's also going to have optimized colors since I'm kind of picking and choosing exactly what works best for me. So I am very, very satisfied with this. Let me know in the comments if you'd like to watch me pull the switcheroo by repotting things and switching things out, because I would be happy to show that. But of course, only if you want to see it. So if, in addition to each product that had its own packaging, we count each individual pan as its own product, then I began this day's exercise with 27 cream cheek products. I ended up keeping 20 and decluttering 7, which according to my math is just a teeny tiny hair over 25% decluttered. But if we really want to get into the nitty gritty and break it down according to blushes, bronzers, and highlighters separately, then I'm going to need my notes, which are over here. When it came to blushes, I kept 10 and decluttered 5, meaning I reduced that category by 33%. That's healthy, I think. When it came to bronzers, I kept 3 and got rid of 1 in the e.l.f. palette, so I reduced that category by 25%. I'm also okay with that. When it came to highlighters, I kept 7 and decluttered 1 for a whopping 12% reduction. I'm not sure how I feel about that. Well, if I look at it this way, that 2 of those highlighters are luminizers, which I use for a different purpose, I'm okay with that. For now, I'm pretty happy with my decisions, and I think that I will have much more time to enjoy the beautiful things that I have now that I have fewer of them. Plus, as I mentioned in some of the other videos in this series, I am putting my decluttered items off to the side in a time will tell box so that I have a chance to live with my decisions in real life for several weeks before committing to a final decision. And the advantage of that is that if I find that I've decluttered something and I really regret it, I can still take it out of that box. But there's a flip side to that. If I find that I wasn't cutthroat enough, I can also put things in that box. So once I have lived with my collection for several weeks and the dust has settled, I'm happy with all my final decisions, I will be coming back to do a final makeup inventory. So if you want to see that, make sure you're subscribed. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. But even if you don't, I hope you have a great week. And we can all remember that even stumbling can be a form of moving forward. So let's stumble in style.